everybody. My name is Justin D'Onofrio. I lead the planning solutions teams here at Platform Specialists and Accordion Company. Normally, we're doing FP&A implementations and connected planning solutions for clients that get complex, but today we wanted to do really a quick how you built it with something fun, a popular word game that I'm sure a lot of folks have seen before. So in the spirit of how I built it, let's start with the end in mind. So what we put together here is a popular word game that I think most folks are familiar with, but if not, the rules are pretty simple. You have to guess the word, 5-letter word, in 6 tries. Each guess that you give has to be 5 letters. And after each guess, the color of the tiles let you know whether you had the right letters and in the right spots. So you can see down here, if a letter is orange, it means the letter's in the actual word, but in the wrong spot. If it turns green, you know the letter's in the right spot. And then no color means that that letter's not in the word at all. So what we have here is a dashboard that allows us to put in those 5-letter guesses. So I'll go with one real quick. And you notice we have 6 guesses. And what's happening in the background here is we're checking to see whether that word that's entered is a real word before we can actually submit the guess. So steak, real word, we hit it. We can see we have some new letters that are in the wrong spot because they're colored orange. As you go through your 6 guesses, you would ultimately try and get the word. I'm not going to go through that now, but we also added some other bells and whistles like how am I doing, giving you a status of how far along you are. And if you lose all your guesses or get the word right, it will reveal the true word here. We had a little bit of extra time, so we actually had some people who've won today metrics to really keep kind of the spirit of competition. With that end in mind, let's go with how we built it and some of the key pieces of information that we had to do, compile to actually get it working. So really simple model here. And the first thing that we needed was a list of valid words, right? So we have to know if that 5-letter word is real to do that quick validation we saw. So I set up a list where I pulled this right off of Google, real 5-letter words in the English language. Here's the full list. Surprisingly, not that many, about 6,000 words in total. The next thing that we wanted to do was set up the days. We want people to play this every day, similar to the popular word game. So we just have a day 1 through 365 to represent days of the year. The other list that we want is that guess number. So we have 6 guesses that we go through in the process, and we know that once you get to the 6th, you either have to get it right or you have to lose for that day. After thinking through the lists that we needed, the next key thing happens in our module views here, and that first key piece is the word bank. So the words that we have that are the right answers for each day. So you can see here, we built a module that has day, that list for day going down the left, so 365 days. And then a couple different line items, one being the word itself. So that's a copy and paste from any 5-letter word you want to play for that day as a person setting up the model. And then just splicing that out into 5 different letters so we can do letter by letter validation a little bit down the road. The next module we set up is dimensionalized now by that day, the guess number list that we put into place for 6 guesses, the users that are assigned to the model itself, and then a bunch of line items that pretty much work the entire game here. Now, obviously, you may design this a little bit different in production or real builds, but quick and dirty, this holds most of the logic for the game. We won't go through every one of these, but we'll highlight some of the key pieces of logic that are used in that dashboard that we saw on the front end. So first we have the 5 spots to put in the text. So those are going to be typed in by individual users. And then because we saw some bugs with people putting in a lowercase letter when it needs to validate against the same case, we're just taking that and making it upper across the board. And then doing some logic to say, okay, is that letter in the word itself by doing a find? Then we do some input validation. So really this whole section is related to whether it's a real word. So we're looking up on that valid words list that we talked about earlier and just displaying a little bit of text for them to say, hey, this is a valid word or it's not a real word. And that's driving the ability to submit if it is a valid word. The coloring itself is really kind of one of the main things that makes the game unique. So that's coming in this section here. And if we pull up one of these formulas, we can see that if it's not submitted, meaning we want to only color it if you've actually submitted the result, and the word or the letter that you put in spot 1 is equal to the true letter in spot 1, then we're going to do 1. Else, if it's in the word but not in the right spot, we're going to do -1, else 0. So that basic logic is driving whether 1, you got the word letter in the right spot, make it green. The -1, you got the letter, but it's not in the right spot, orange. Else 0, we're not going to color it. We're going to leave it that gray color. And the way that manifests is some conditional formatting here on the dashboard itself. So I'll go through, take a quick look at how that's set up, and that aligns with that -1 and 1 we just looked at here. The remainder of these are really related to being able to unlock or lock the individual letters, a lot of DCA, and that DCA manifests through locking the word after you've done the submit. So in this example, we want to be able to type into the third guess. But we don't want people to be able to go back and sort of cheat and go update things that they've done in the prior words. So there is some DCA to lock down all of those input tiles here once you've submitted your prior word or your word for that line. As we wrap up here, the final couple of line items are driving some of that analytics that we've talked about across the entire company or the users that are playing, and we're pulling that into some game status modules. How many people, or I'm sorry, for each person, have you won? Have you done all of your submissions? What's the status? And then game metrics, pulling together some really basic stuff like the number of users, the users that have gotten that day correct, and then a percentage that's displayed on the front end. I know this is a quick walkthrough, but it's a really fun game. It was very easy to build, and we also, because of the popularity of the idea, we made a mobile-friendly dashboard version of it, so you can play right on your phone without the larger size and extra information that's on the key dashboard. So I hope this was insightful. Hope it was fun. Really enjoyed doing it. Thanks a lot for joining.